The untold power of the Prophet's daughter Hazrat Fatima. Imagine growing up in a world where every day feels like a battle against hatred, oppression, and an unrelenting thirst for justice. The world around you is consumed by chaos, but in the center of this storm stands a figure so powerful, yet so often forgotten. She's the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, born into a world where her father is ridiculed, persecuted, and rejected by his own people. Her name? Fatima binti Muhammad, peace be upon him. But who was Fatima, peace be upon him, really? Was she just the Prophet's daughter? Or was she a woman whose courage, faith, and wisdom changed the course of history forever? While many remember her father as the last and final prophet of Islam, few truly understand the profound and untold role Fatima, peace be upon him, played in his life and in the life of the Muslim community. Fatima, peace be upon him, wasn't just the daughter of Muhammad, peace be upon him, she was the embodiment of everything he stood for. When the world mocked and ridiculed him, it was Fatima, peace be upon him, who stood by him, a pillar of strength. When the world was burning with hatred for the message of Islam, it was Fatima, peace be upon him, who bore the weight of sacrifice with unwavering resilience. She was more than just a supporter of the Prophet, she was the unsung hero, the unbreakable spirit, the quiet force who silently carried the flame of Islam during its most challenging moments. Her life was a story of endurance, of battles fought not with swords, but with love, faith, and the strength of character. From the moment she was born, Fatima, peace be upon him, was destined for greatness, yet her legacy often remains overshadowed by those around her. Today, we are here to bring her story into the light, to uncover the untold truths about the woman who stood beside the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, through thick and thin. A woman whose sacrifices changed the very fabric of Islamic history. This is not just the story of the daughter of the Prophet. This is the story of a woman whose power, influence, and love were nothing short of extraordinary. This is the untold story of Hazrat Fatima binti Muhammad, peace be upon him. Early life, the daughter of a prophet in a world of oppression. Imagine being born into a world where the very air you breathe is thick with hostility and rejection. A world where your father is not just a man, but a messenger, a beacon of truth in a society drowning in ignorance and pride. This was the world Fatima binti Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born into, a world that would challenge her every step, yet shape her into one of the most powerful figures in history. From the moment Fatima, peace be upon him, entered this world, she was surrounded by adversity. Her father, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not just any father, he was the one chosen by Allah to deliver a message that would change the course of humanity. But that message was met with rejection, hatred, and even violence. The Quraysh, the tribe that controlled Mecca, couldn't tolerate the truth that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was spreading, and they did everything in their power to stop him, to silence him. In the midst of this storm, Fatima, peace be upon him, was not just a passive observer, she was at the heart of it all. As a young girl, Fatima, peace be upon him, saw firsthand the persecution her father endured. She witnessed the ridicule, the insults, the physical abuse. People spat at him. They mocked his message. They even threw stones at him, forcing him to flee the very city he called home. Yet, through all of this, Fatima, peace be upon him, never wavered. She saw in her father not just a prophet, but a man of unshakable faith, a man who endured every trial with dignity and grace. And it was this strength, this unwavering devotion to truth, that Fatima, peace be upon him, absorbed as her own. But it wasn't just her father's struggle that defined Fatima's, peace be upon him, early life. Fatima, peace be upon him, herself faced unimaginable hardships. At a young age, she became the protector of her father. When the people of Mecca mocked him, it was Fatima, peace be upon him, who stood by him, comforting him and offering solace when the world turned its back on him. She bore the brunt of the emotional burden of her family's trials, but she never showed weakness. Every word of mockery that came her way only made her stronger, and every moment of pain she witnessed only solidified her resolve to stand by her father. The hardships didn't end in Mecca. After the Prophet's migration to Medina, Fatima, peace be upon him, became a symbol of resilience. She took care of her family, fought for the rights of the oppressed, and continued to be the steady hand that guided those who sought her wisdom. She wasn't just a daughter, she was a warrior in her own right, defending her father's legacy and the message of Islam with every ounce of her being. In those early years, Fatima, peace be upon him, learned the true meaning of sacrifice. She didn't just watch the world crumble around her, she became a part of the very foundation that would rebuild it. Her early life, marked by both hardship and determination, shaped her into a woman who would later become one of the most influential figures in Islam. But what makes Fatima's, peace be upon him, story so powerful is not just the pain she endured, but how she used that pain to fuel her purpose. In the face of unimaginable adversity, she never lost sight of her mission. And in doing so, Fatima, peace be upon him, became not only the daughter of a prophet, but the mother of a legacy that would inspire generations to come. As the world began to change, and Islam spread far beyond Mecca and Medina, Fatima's, peace be upon him, role became more crucial than ever. She had become the epitome of unwavering faith, compassion, and strength. But her journey was far from over. What awaited her next would test every lesson she had learned and every ounce of strength she had built. Her story was about to take a new turn, one that would reveal the depths of her sacrifice and the unbreakable spirit she carried within. Marriage to Hazrat Ali, peace be upon him, a love born of faith. What if the greatest love story ever told wasn't born out of riches, beauty, or status, but out of the shared devotion to something greater than oneself? This is the story of Fatima, and Ali, a union forged in faith, sacrifice, and an unshakable belief in the truth of Islam. Their love was not just a personal bond, but a sacred commitment to the very message of Allah. In the midst of all the trials and tribulations, the young Fatima, peace be upon him, had witnessed how her father's message transformed the lives of people, including those who had once been staunch in a three-me's. One of the most devoted and steadfast companions to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was none other than Ali ibn Abi Talib, a man whose loyalty to Islam was unwavering. But his bond with Fatima, peace be upon him, was more than just a relationship built on duty. It was one of pure, unadulterated love, a love rooted in a shared vision of righteousness. The first moment Fatima, peace be upon him, and Ali crossed paths wasn't a grand occasion. It wasn't a chance encounter at a lavish gathering. No, it was during the most trying period of their lives. Ali was known as one of the fiercest warriors on the battlefield, but he was also a man of immense spiritual depth and humility. Fatima, peace be upon him, on the other hand, had known nothing but sacrifice and devotion since birth. Their meeting wasn't by chance. It was the coming together of two souls destined to be united by something far greater than themselves. But what truly makes their union extraordinary was not just their shared devotion to Allah, but how they came together at a time when the world was against them. Fatima, peace be upon him, despite being the daughter of the Prophet, had known the harshness of life, and Ali, though a brave and respected figure in Medina, had little wealth to offer. They did not marry because of money, status, or influence. Instead, Their love was a reflection of their shared faith and the sacrifices they had already made for Islam. Fatimah's, peace be upon him, marriage to Ali was the ultimate example of faith over materialism. The Prophet Muhammad, proud of the bond between his daughter and Ali, declared, "The best of women is Fatima, and the best of men is Ali." Their love was not one based on fleeting desires but on a shared understanding of their roles in Islam's divine mission. Together, they were a perfect balance of strength, compassion, and resilience. But the story doesn't end here. Their marriage, though filled with love, was also marked by hardships. The trials they faced together were immense: poverty, the struggles of raising children, and the constant challenges of living a life of righteousness in a world filled with opposition. Yet, their bond only grew stronger with each passing day. They did not look for comfort in the material world, but in each other's unwavering devotion and their shared purpose in Islam. Their marriage was a reflection of the core values that Fatima, peace be upon him, had learned throughout her life: patience, sacrifice, and a deep commitment to Allah. But little did they know, the challenges they faced as a couple would prepare them for something much greater. Their love was the foundation of something far more powerful than just their personal bond. It was a bond that would carry the weight of history, of generations to come. The sacrifices they would make in their marriage would echo through time, shaping the course of Islamic history forever. And while their love story had already transcended the boundaries of time, the next chapter in their lives would take them to a place that would forever test their strength and devotion, not just as a couple, but as symbols of a larger divine mission. The challenges they faced would deepen their bond, but also set the stage for the trials that would define their legacy. What awaited them next would prove that their love wasn't just the stuff of fairy tales. It was the foundation of a future that would echo through the ages. The daughter of the Prophet, the unshakable strength behind the scenes. Have you ever wondered what it takes to stand behind the greatest figures in history and still shine with a light of your own? Fatima, peace be upon him, was more than just the daughter of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. She was the unshakable strength that held the family together during the most turbulent times. Her role, often behind the scenes, was pivotal in sustaining the message of Islam when the world seemed on the brink of chaos. From the very beginning, Fatima knew that her life would be far from ordinary. Born into a household where the Prophet, peace be upon him, was the beacon of truth, Fatima, peace be upon him, had witnessed firsthand the kind of adversity that tested the resolve of even the strongest. As the daughter of the Prophet, she was no stranger to hardship and sacrifice. But what set her apart was the profound strength she displayed during those trying times. While the Prophet, peace be upon him, was leading the charge in spreading the message of Islam, it was Fatima, peace be upon him, who stood as the unwavering pillar of support for him. Her role was not just that of a daughter. She was the caretaker, the comforter, and the silent strength that enabled the Prophet, peace be upon him, to continue his mission. As the Quraysh and enemies of Islam conspired to undermine his message, Fatima, peace be upon him, remained by his side, enduring the worst of insults and the most difficult of situations. Imagine this: while the Prophet, peace be upon him, faced rejection, mockery, and even physical abuse, Fatima, peace be upon him, was there, enduring the same with a grace and dignity that could not be broken. In one of the most devastating moments in history, when the Quraysh threw garbage at the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his followers, it was Fatima, peace be upon him, who rushed to his side, washing him, tending to him, and strengthening his resolve. She was not just a passive observer. She was the force that empowered him to rise above the cruelty, to stay steadfast in his purpose. But Fatima's, peace be upon him, strength wasn't just in her actions. It was in her character. She never sought fame or recognition for the sacrifices she made. she was content in her role as the silent force behind the scenes, giving all she had to the mission of Islam. It was said that she was the Prophet's, peace be upon him, comfort and solace, the one person he could turn to when the weight of the world was on his shoulders. And her strength didn't just extend to her father. Fatima, peace be upon him, was also the mother who nurtured the next generation of leaders in Islam. Her children, Hassan and Hussein, would go on to become icons of courage, justice, and piety. But this legacy of leadership and sacrifice was rooted in the unyielding spirit that Fatima, peace be upon him, passed down to them. However, what many don't realize is that Fatima's, peace be upon him, strength was constantly tested. Her life wasn't just about quietly supporting those around her. It was about facing immense trials with a resolve that defied expectations. In a world that often overlooked her contributions, she continued to carry the weight of responsibility, knowing that her actions were shaping the future of Islam. But what was the cost of this silent strength? As we peel back the layers of Fatima's, peace be upon him, life, we start to realize that the true depth of her power wasn't in her silence or her ability to support others. It was in the immense sacrifices she made, the sacrifices that would come to define her role in Islamic history. But the true test of her strength was yet to come. The next chapter in her life would reveal the extent of the pain she endured, but also the unbreakable spirit that would leave an indelible mark on the history of Islam. What happens when a woman, tested by unimaginable hardship, refuses to be silenced? The world would soon find out. And Fatima's, peace be upon him, strength would continue to inspire generations, for her story was far from over. Stay tuned, because the next phase of her journey reveals the price she paid for her unwavering devotion, and the profound impact it would have on the legacy of her family and the future of Islam. The legacy of Hazrat Fatima, peace be upon him, a source of guidance and inspiration. Have you ever wondered what it takes for someone's legacy to transcend time, becoming a guiding light for generations long after they've gone? Fatima, peace be upon him, wasn't just a figure of the past. Her legacy continues to inspire and guide us to this very day. Her life wasn't just a sequence of events. It was a blueprint for strength, faith, and leadership in the face of adversity. The question is, what exactly is it about her that has left such an indelible mark on the world? Fatima's, peace be upon him, legacy was not built on grand speeches or public recognition. It was rooted in her unwavering devotion to Allah, her remarkable resilience, and her unparalleled devotion to her family and faith. She didn't need fame. Her actions spoke louder than any words could. Her example of quiet leadership and sacrifice became a living testament to the ideals of Islam, shaping the moral compass of millions who would follow in her footsteps. What makes her legacy even more profound is that, despite the immense challenges she faced, Fatima, peace be upon him, never compromised on her values. In a world rife with political and social upheaval, where the world's great leaders fought for power and control, Fatima's, peace be upon him, life was defined by her deep spiritual connection and her unshakable commitment to the cause of Islam. She proved that true power lies not in titles or positions, but in the strength of character and the purity of one's intentions. But the influence of Fatima, peace be upon him, didn't stop with her own generation. Her children, Hassan and Hussein, carried the torch of her legacy, both of whom became symbols of justice, sacrifice, and resistance in the face of tyranny. However, it was Fatima's, peace be upon him, guidance, wisdom, and strength that laid the foundation for their courage. They didn't just inherit her blood, they inherited her spirit. The question then becomes, how did Fatima, peace be upon him, shape them into the leaders they would become? The answer lies in the values she instilled in them every day. And it's a lesson for us all on what it takes to raise leaders who stand for truth and justice. But there's more to her legacy than just the lives of her children. Fatimah's, peace be upon him, influence ripples through history, inspiring countless individuals across different walks of life. Whether it's her role as a daughter, a wife, a mother, or a leader, Fatimah, peace be upon him, showed us that strength doesn't always look like what we expect it to. Sometimes, the most powerful acts are those done in silence, with grace and humility. Her legacy teaches us that power can come from within, from the quiet resilience of the heart. What is most compelling, however, is how Fatimah's, peace be upon him, legacy calls us to action. It compels us to reflect on our own lives. Are we living in a way that honors the values she stood for? Are we embodying the kind of strength that was the hallmark of her life? Her example asks us to rise above the ordinary, to be more than just followers, but to lead with integrity and unwavering commitment to truth, justice, and faith. But Fatimah's, peace be upon him, story isn't just about the past, it's about the future. As we look forward to the challenges we face today, we must ask ourselves, how can we continue to uphold the principles that Fatimah, peace be upon him, exemplified? How can we be the guardians of her message in our own time? The answer lies in understanding that her legacy isn't just a story, it's a living, breathing guidebook for every generation that comes after her. Her actions have shown us that true legacy isn't built on what you accumulate, but on what you give, how you led, and how you inspire others to rise. And as we move forward, the question remains, will we carry her legacy forward? Will we embody the strength, courage, and wisdom she demonstrated every day? Fatimah's, peace be upon him, life may have ended centuries ago, but her legacy is still being written in the hearts and actions of those who follow her example. The next step in her legacy will be revealed in how we choose to carry it with us. Stay tuned, because this isn't just a story, it's a call to action. The legacy of Hazrat Fatimah, isn't just something to admire from afar. It's something to live by, every single day. The unbreakable spirit of Fatimah, peace be upon him, what if the true measure of greatness wasn't found in power, wealth, or recognition, but in unwavering resilience, an unshakable spirit, and a commitment to righteousness in the face of the harshest trials? Hazrat Fatimah, peace be upon him, wasn't just a daughter, a wife, or a mother. She was the embodiment of an unbreakable spirit that changed the course of history. As we look back at her life, one question stands above all others. How did she maintain such strength in the face of unimaginable adversity? And what does her story reveal about the power of faith? Fatimah's, peace be upon him, life wasn't marked by worldly triumphs or grand victories, but by her ability to rise above life's greatest challenges with unwavering faith. From the moment she was born, she lived in the shadow of greatness. But she didn't simply rest on the foundation laid by her father, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. She carved her own path, standing firm in her principles, even when the weight of the world seemed too much to bear. Her strength was not about physical might. It was rooted in her deep connection to Allah, her commitment to justice, and her fierce determination to protect what was right. But the real question that many have asked is, what does this kind of strength look like in our own lives? Fatimah's, peace be upon him, story challenges us to think beyond superficial strength. She didn't achieve greatness by overpowering others. She achieved it through grace, through quiet resilience, through her refusal to give up even when faced with the deepest injustices. Her example teaches us that true strength lies not in how many battles we win, but in how we endure them and continue moving forward with unwavering faith. Perhaps the most profound aspect of Fatimah's, peace be upon him, story is how her legacy continues to live on today. In a world filled with noise, chaos, and distractions, her spirit calls out to us. It challenges us to rise above the everyday struggles, to push through life's trials with the same strength, integrity, and courage that she displayed. Her legacy is not confined to the past, it's something that pulses through the hearts of millions, urging us to act, to lead, and to live with purpose. But there's a deeper question that Fatima, peace be upon him, leaves us with. How are we embodying her spirit in our daily lives? Are we living with the same commitment to truth, the same devotion to justice, the same resilience in the face of adversity? Fatima's, peace be upon him, story is not just one to admire, it's a challenge to live by. Her legacy urges us to ask ourselves, what kind of world would we create if we followed her example? If we stood firm in our faith, never compromised on our values, and remained resolute in the face of any obstacle? As we reflect on her life, we realize that Fatima's, peace be upon him, unbreakable spirit wasn't just a gift to her family or her time, it was a gift to all of humanity. Her example has inspired countless individuals to rise above their circumstances, to act with honor and dignity, and to never lose hope, no matter how bleak the world may seem. But perhaps the greatest question of all remains, will we take up her mantle? Will we carry her unbreakable spirit forward, making it our own? The answer to that question is not just a reflection of how we view Fatima, peace be upon him, it's a reflection of who we choose to be in the world today. Her spirit is alive within each of us, ready to be embraced and passed on to the next generation. And just like the legacy she left behind, the question remains, how will you carry her unbreakable spirit forward? The journey is just beginning, and it's up to us to keep her story alive, not just through our words, but through our actions.